Okay, so you're prepping for a child daycare worker interview, huh? That's fantastic. You're stepping into a world where you get to work with these amazing little minds and build these lasting bonds with families.
It's such a rewarding field.
And the cool thing is you've got this treasure trove of prep material to help you get ready. You've got a really detailed career guide, an interview guide that's packed with sample questions. And then on top of that, you've got access to RoleCatcher's AI tools.
It sounds like you're really well equipped, not just to land the job, but to really shine in this role.
That's the goal. We're going to unpack all of that and help you totally ace this interview.
Awesome. Let's dive in.
This career guide really gets into the nitty-gritty of what it means to be a child daycare worker. What's the big picture here?
Well, what's really interesting is the dual focus of this role. It's not just about caring for children, right? It's about understanding their social and emotional development and working hand in hand with families to make sure each child has this holistic sense of well-being.
So it's almost like a two-pronged approach. You're nurturing the child's development, but you're also building this partnership with their family.
Exactly.
Got it. Now, the interview guide is packed with potential questions. Let's dive into some of those and see how you can really nail your responses. This first question is a classic. Tell me about yourself and what interests you about this child daycare worker role.
Yeah, this is your chance to make a fantastic first impression. The interviewer is looking for genuine passion and enthusiasm for working with kids, someone who gets how important early childhood development is, and truly wants to make a positive impact on these little lives.
So how can you go beyond just like summarizing your resume? How do you make this answer stand out?
Think about what really sparked your interest in this field. Was there a specific experience that ignited your passion for working with children? Maybe you have a particular approach to childcare that you're really excited to implement. Whatever it is, share those personal insights because it creates a connection with the interviewer.
It's like letting your personality shine through, and that genuine enthusiasm, yeah, that's gold.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's another one that often pops up. What are your strengths and weaknesses as they relate to working with young children? Now, everyone always dreads that weakness part.
Of course. But this question is really designed to see how self-aware you are and how well you can reflect on your strength and your areas for growth.
Makes sense.
So when you're discussing your strengths, pick ones that are super relevant to this role, like patience, creativity, or maybe amazing communication skills.
Okay, so back those strengths up with evidence, right? Like specific examples.
Exactly. Now for the dreaded weakness part. Choose a weakness that you're actively working on and frame it as a chance to grow. For example, you could say, I sometimes struggle with time management, but I'm trying out different strategies to improve my organization and efficiency.
So turning a negative into a positive, I love that.
It's all about perspective.
Okay, let's move on to a question that really digs into your experience. Tell me about a time you had to deal with challenging behavior in a child. What did you do?
This one is all about how you handle tough situations. The interviewer wants to see if you stay calm and effective under pressure. They basically want to see what strategies you have for managing that challenging behavior in a positive and constructive way.
So when you're thinking about what experience to share here, what kind of things should you be looking for?
Think about a time when you successfully navigated a tricky situation with a child. Describe the situation briefly, explain the steps you took to address the behavior, and then focus on the positive outcome.
So really highlight those problem-solving skills and your ability to remain calm and patient, even when things get a little bit chaotic.
Exactly.
Now, I could totally see the interviewer following up with something like, what would you do if a child in your care was, consistently exhibiting aggressive behavior?
Right. So this question tests how you think critically and how you apply what you know about child development.
So they're not just looking for a simple solution, right? They want to see if you can consider the whole picture, the child's individual needs, and all that.
Exactly. You could talk about things like, strategies like observing the child's behavior patterns. You could talk about communicating with parents to gather information about potential stressors at home. And you could even mention collaborating with other professionals.
Like a child psychologist or a behavior specialist, right?
Yeah, exactly, if necessary.
That makes sense. It's about showing that you're not just reacting, but you're really trying to understand the root cause. And you want to develop a real plan to support this child's well-being.
Yeah, that's key.
Okay, let's shift gears to a question that focuses on safety. How do you ensure the safety of children in your care? I mean, this has to be a top priority in any childcare setting, right?
Absolutely. Safety is paramount in childcare.
And this question is designed to make sure you understand those safety protocols and that you can create a secure environment for the children. So how can you really make this answer stand out? How can you go beyond just rattling off basic safety measures?
Well, you can talk about specific strategies you use, like you could mention conducting regular safety checks of the environment, establishing really clear rules and boundaries for the children, and having a plan in place for emergencies.
Right, being prepared for anything.
Exactly. And of course, being knowledgeable about first aid and CPR.
So showing you're proactive and prepared, not just reactive if something happens.
Right.
Okay, now I want to switch gears for a second and talk about RoleCatcher's AI tools, because these can really be game changers when it comes to, you know, crafting those perfect interview answers.
Oh, absolutely. RoleCatcher has some incredible AI-powered features that can seriously help refine your responses and just boost your confidence overall.
Okay, so for someone who's prepping for the specific interview, which AI features should they really be checking out?
I'd say the interview practice tool is fantastic for this. You can actually record yourself answering these common non-interview questions
Wow.
and then get AI-powered feedback on your delivery, the content of your answer, and even your body language.
It's like having your own personal interview coach right in your pocket.
It really is.
That's incredible. So you can practice your answers, get this feedback, and identify those areas you can improve on before the big day.
Exactly. And the feedback you get is actually tailored to the job you're applying for. So in this case, it'll focus on the skills that matter most for child daycare workers.
That makes total sense. So it's not just like general feedback, it's really targeted advice, stuff that's relevant to your goals.
Precisely.
I love that. Okay, let's dive back into the interview questions because we got more to cover. This next one's all about communication with parents. How do you keep parents informed about their child's day?
This is where those communication skills come into play. The interviewer wants to know that you're proactive about keeping parents in the loop, that you can communicate clearly, but also sensitively.
So what are some things you can mention to really showcase your communication style?
Just talk about your go-to methods. Do you prefer daily reports, weekly newsletters, or a mix of both?
Oh, yeah.
Do you make yourself available for those quick chats at pickup and drop-off?
I bet parents really appreciate that.
They do. Do you encourage parents to schedule more in-depth meetings to discuss their child's progress? It's really about showing that you're accessible, that you value transparency, and that open communication with parents is important to you.
It's building that trust, right?
Absolutely. You can even share examples of how you've adapted your communication style to meet the needs of different families.
So highlighting your flexibility and your ability to kind of tailor your approach to their communication preferences.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, here's one that I think a lot of people get nervous about. How do you handle disagreements or conflicts with parents?
Oh, that's a good one. It can be a little tricky. But this question is really about seeing how you resolve conflict, and if you stay professional, even when things get a little tense.
So how do you answer that question without sounding like you're someone who's, always in conflict?
Right. The key is to focus on your problem-solving skills and your commitment to that open communication we were just talking about. You could say something like, I believe that open and respectful communication is the foundation for resolving disagreements. So if a conflict were to arise, I would first try to really understand the parent's perspective, and then I would calmly explain my point of view.
So it's not about placing blame. It's about understanding both sides.
Exactly. And then I would focus on finding a solution that works for everyone, but especially the child.
So emphasizing collaboration, having a solution-oriented mindset, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And remember, it's super important to avoid blaming others or even speaking negatively about past conflicts. Keep it positive and highlight your ability to handle disagreements, professionally and effectively.
Great advice. Okay, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI for a sec. I think that CV or resume tailoring feature could be super helpful for someone applying for a child daycare worker position. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. This tool is amazing. It basically helps you ensure that your CV is highlighting the most relevant skills and experiences for the job you want.
So walk me through how it works.
It's simple. You just upload your CV and the job description. The AI then analyzes both of those documents to find the keywords and skills that are most important.
So it's almost like having a personal recruiter who knows what the employers are looking for.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Then it gives you suggestions on how to tailor your CV to make it even more appealing to the hiring manager.
Oh, I bet that's helpful.
Yeah, it could suggest things like adding certain keywords, highlighting relevant experiences, or even rephrasing certain bullet points to better showcase your skills.
It's not just about making it look pretty. It's about making sure it's speaking directly to the employer's needs.
You got it. It's about optimizing that CV to boost your chances of getting noticed and ultimately getting an interview. Welcome back. It's great to continue this deep dive. I hope you're feeling more confident and prepared for that child daycare worker interview.
I think our listener has a really good foundation now for crafting some great responses.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet. There's always more to learn, right?
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that each interview is unique.
Right.
The specific questions you'll get will definitely vary depending on the age group you're working with, the type of childcare setting, and, the organization's specific values and priorities.
That's a great point. So how can our listener be prepared for those curveball questions, those unexpected ones?
The key is to really think about your experiences and then connect your skills to the specific needs of that role.
Makes sense.
Like, for instance, let's say you're applying for a position at a Reggio Emilia-inspired program. You should be ready to talk about that approach and how you would use those principles in your work.
Okay, so do your research on that program and be prepared to tailor your answers to their unique philosophy and approach.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. This next one focuses on your ability to work independently. Tell me about a time you had to work independently to complete a task or project. How did you manage your time and stay motivated?
So this question is designed to see how self-sufficient you are. They want to know about your organizational skills and your ability to take initiative.
It makes sense. You've got to be able to manage yourself, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're working with kids.
Absolutely. The interviewer wants to know that you can be trusted to work on your own, that you can manage your time effectively, and that you stay focused on your goals.
So what kind of experience could you share for a question like this?
Think about a time you had to work on something, a project or a task, without someone looking over your shoulder. It could be anything. Planning and implementing a lesson plan, organizing a classroom event, or even creating a whole new learning center.
Lots of possibilities.
Yeah, and explain how you set goals, how you broke the task down into smaller steps, and how you stayed on track to meet those deadlines.
So really showcasing those organizational skills and your ability to work independently.
Yes. And don't forget to talk about how you kept yourself motivated. Did you use a to-do list? Did you maybe create a little reward system for yourself?
Oh, I like that.
Or did you seek out feedback from colleagues?
It's about being resourceful.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I want to shift gears for a bit and come back to something we touched on earlier, this idea of continuous learning in childcare.
Oh, yes. That is so important.
It's a field that's constantly evolving.
Absolutely. Child development research is always changing. There are always new approaches and strategies emerging. It's vital for child daycare workers to stay up to date to provide the best possible care.
You've got to keep learning. So how can our listener demonstrate their commitment to that lifelong learning thing during the interview?
You can talk about specific professional development activities you've been involved in, like attending conferences, taking courses, or even just reading professional journals.
Right. Showing that you're taking the initiative to keep learning.
And talk about how those experiences have influenced how you approach childcare.
Yeah. Show that you're growing as a professional.
Exactly.
Okay, let's jump back into those interview questions. This one is about your ability to adapt to change. Tell me about a time you had to adapt to a change in plans or routine. How did you handle the situation?
This question is all about seeing how flexible you are. Can you think on your feet?
Working in childcare, you have to be able to handle anything, right?
Exactly. The interviewer wants to see that you can handle surprises, unexpected situations, and that you can do it calmly, effectively, without getting stressed out.
So what kind of experience would be good to talk about for a question like this?
Think about a time you had to change your plans because of something unexpected.
Okay.
Like a sick child, maybe a power outage, a sudden change in the weather.
Those things happen all the time.
All the time. Explain how you assess the situation, how you communicated with others, and how you put a new plan in place to make sure the kids were safe and well taken care of.
So again, it's about showcasing that ability to adapt, to problem solve, and to stay calm even when things get a little crazy.
Exactly. And they might follow up with something like, how do you handle transitions with young children?
Oh, yeah. Transitions can be super tough for little kids.
Definitely. And you have to have strategies to make those transitions go as smoothly as possible.
So what would you say?
You could talk about using visual schedules, giving kids warnings before a transition happens, and creating routines that help them feel more secure and like that they know what to expect.
It's all about anticipating those challenges,
Right.
providing that support, and helping kids feel safe when things are changing around them.
Yes.
Okay, I want to mention RoleCatcher's AI tools one more time. I think that interview practice tool is so valuable for someone who's prepping for a child daycare worker interview.
Oh, for sure. I think we talked about this before, but it's like having a personal interview coach in your back pocket.
It really is. You record yourself answering those questions, and then you get this AI-powered feedback on how you did. You can see your delivery, the content, and even your body language.
It's pretty amazing.
You can practice, figure out where you can improve, and just feel more confident going into the real thing.
And the AI is actually trained on specific job roles, so it's really targeted. The feedback you get is specifically for the things that are important in a child daycare worker position.
That's really smart. So it's tailored to what you need. Okay, let's get back to the interview questions. This next one's about child development. What are some of the key milestones you would expect to see in a child of, let's say, 3 years old?
All right, so this question is all about making sure you understand child development.
Right?
They want to see that you can observe and track a child's progress, that you know the typical developmental milestones, and that you can recognize if there might be any potential delays or challenges.
So how do you answer this one? What kind of things could you say to really showcase your knowledge?
Be prepared to discuss milestones in different areas: physical development, cognitive, social, emotional, and language.
Okay, so you've got to cover all those bases.
You got it. And you could mention specific skills or behaviors that are typical for a 3-year-old, like walking, talking, playing pretend, or following simple instructions.
It's showing you understand those typical developmental patterns.
Exactly. But also make sure you mention that every kid develops at their own pace. What's considered normal can vary quite a bit.
That's true. Kids are all different.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, now what if the interviewer follows up with something like, what would you do if you noticed a child in your care was not meeting certain developmental milestones?
Oh, that's a good one. They're trying to see if you can identify and address potential issues. The interviewer wants to see that you're observant, proactive, and you genuinely care about each child's well-being.
Makes sense. So how do you answer this question in the way that shows that you're sensitive, but also proactive?
You could say something like, if I noticed a child wasn't meeting milestones, I would first document what I was seeing really carefully.
Okay.
Then I would talk to the child's parents, to get their input. And I would also consult with other professionals like a child development specialist or the child's pediatrician to get their expert opinions and recommendations.
So you're not just going it alone, you're reaching out for support.
Exactly. It's a team effort. And I would work with the parents and other professionals to create a plan to help the child.
Okay, so it's about observing, documenting, communicating, and collaborating. That's really thorough.
It is. It shows that you're taking the child's development seriously and that you're going to do what it takes to get them the support they need.
I love that. Now, I want to shift gears to a question about working with families from diverse backgrounds. How do you create a culturally sensitive and inclusive environment for all children and families?
This one's about making sure you understand diversity and that you're committed to creating a space where everyone feels welcome.
An environment that celebrates differences.
Right.
Yes.
The interviewer wants to see that you're sensitive to different cultures, different family structures, and that you're going to celebrate each child's unique identity.
Okay, so how do you showcase your commitment to inclusivity in your answer?
You can talk about specific strategies you've used in the past to create that kind of environment.
Okay, like what?
Like using books and activities that represent different cultures, celebrating holidays and traditions from around the world,
I love that.
and using language that's inclusive and respectful of every family.
So you're creating a space that reflects the real world,
Right.
the diverse world we live in.
Exactly. And you could talk about how you keep learning about different cultures, how you seek out resources from diverse perspectives, and how you're open to feedback from families about what you can do to make the environment even more inclusive.
It's about constantly learning and growing and recognizing that you don't have all the answers. Now, here's a question that often comes up at the end of an interview. Do you have any questions for me? Now's your chance to flip the script and ask some questions of your own.
It's a great opportunity. You can learn more about the organization, the role, the people you'd be working with.
So what are some good questions to ask that'll make a good impression?
You could ask about the organization's philosophy, their approach to teamwork and communication, or the opportunities for professional development.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that.
It shows that you're really interested. You've been listening, you've been thinking about it.
Exactly. And you could also ask about their commitment to diversity and inclusion, how they communicate with parents, or what their plans are for the future.
So you're thinking big picture. You're not just focused on the day-to-day tasks.
Right.
Okay, I think those are some fantastic tips for ending the interview strong. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to mention the CV and resume tailoring tool on RoleCatcher one more time.
Yes. I love this tool. It can be a lifesaver when you're applying for a child daycare worker role.
It can really help you stand out.
For sure. It makes sure your CV is highlighting all the right skills and experience.
So remind me, how does it work?
You upload your CV and the job description, and then the AI does its magic. It figures out what keywords and skills are the most important for that specific job.
It's like having a secret weapon.
It kind of is. And then it suggests ways to tailor your CV, like adding keywords, showcasing your most relevant experiences, and making sure your skills really shine.
So it's not just about looking good, it's about making sure you're speaking the employer's language.
Exactly. It's about increasing your chances of getting noticed and getting that interview.
Okay, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. It feels like we've covered so much already, from interview prep to all those important milestones in child development.
We have.
So where do we go from here?
Well, we've talked a lot about how to land that child daycare worker job.
Right.
But what about after you actually get the job?
That's a great question. It's not just a job, it's a career. So let's say our listener aced that interview, got the job, and they're ready to go. What does the path forward look like?
Well, the career guide actually lays out a pretty clear progression.
Oh, it's helpful.
You start with entry-level positions, right? You're gaining experience, learning the ropes, building relationships with those kids and their families.
So building a solid foundation, then what?
From there, you can start moving into roles that are a little more specialized.
Okay.
For example, you might become a lead teacher, so you take on more responsibility in the classroom. Or you could specialize in working with a specific age group, like infants or toddlers.
So you find your niche.
Exactly.
I love that. What are some other directions people go in?
Some people move into more administrative roles, like center director or program coordinator.
Okay, so more of a leadership role,
Mhm.
overseeing the program as a whole.
Right. Those roles involve a lot more leadership, management, decision-making.
What about those who are really passionate about the educational side of things? Are there paths for them?
Absolutely. A lot of child daycare workers go on to get more education, maybe become certified teachers or child development specialists.
Wow, so they could really have an impact.
Yeah. They might work in research or advocacy or even policy development.
So they use their experience to really make a difference in the field. What are some things that help someone move up that ladder?
Continuous learning is key.
Right. Never stop learning.
Exactly. The more you learn and grow professionally, the better your chances.
Makes sense. Any specific things people can do to really stand out?
Well, the guide talks about a few things. Certifications, for one. Getting a Child Development Associate, CDA credential, is a great way to show your dedication and boost your qualifications.
So it's like an extra stamp of approval.
Yeah, exactly. And building a portfolio is another smart move.
A portfolio.
Uh-huh. You can gather examples of your lesson plans, your activities, your projects, things that show off your creativity and all your child development know-how.
Ooh, I like that. Something concrete that you can show them.
Exactly. It goes beyond just saying, I did this. You have actual proof.
Okay, so certifications and portfolios.
Yeah.
Those are definitely some key takeaways. Anything else?
Networking. That's huge in any field, but especially childcare.
Right. Getting out there and meeting people.
Yes. Attending events, joining online groups, connecting on social media, all that stuff can open up so many doors.
It's about making connections, sharing ideas, learning from others.
Exactly. And finding mentors.
Ooh, mentors are so valuable.
Yeah. Finding experienced people who can guide you, support you. It's a huge advantage.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that's really changing things up in childcare. Technology. How are people using technology in childcare settings? What are the good things and maybe some of the not so good things?
Technology is becoming more and more common in childcare for everything from admin tasks to what's happening in the classroom.
Interesting. Give me some examples.
Well, a lot of centers use software for things like enrollment, billing, and communication with parents.
So it helps with all that behind-the-scenes stuff, makes things more efficient.
Exactly. And in the classroom, you see interactive whiteboards, tablets, educational apps, all kinds of cool stuff to engage the kids.
So technology is actually becoming a teaching tool.
It really is.
That's pretty cool. What are some of the benefits of using technology with kids?
Well, one big one is that it can make learning more engaging and interactive. Kids love technology, right?
Oh, yeah.
And those apps and games, they can actually personalize the learning experience. A child can learn at their own pace, focus on things they might be struggling with.
So it's more tailored to individual needs. I like that.
And another great thing is, technology can make things more accessible for children with disabilities.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right.
So it helps create a more inclusive environment.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing there are some challenges too, right?
Of course. One big one is making sure the technology is being used in a way that's developmentally appropriate.
Right. You don't want kids glued to screens all day.
Exactly. You have to strike that balance. Kids still learn best through play, through exploring, and through interacting with each other.
So screen time is a concern.
It is. We have to be mindful of that. What else? Another challenge is making sure all the staff are comfortable using the technology.
That makes sense. Not everyone's a tech whiz.
Right. You need to provide training and support to help educators use technology in the right way. And then there's the whole privacy and security thing.
Oh, that's huge.
You have to protect kids' information. You have to make sure that everything's safe and secure.
Okay, so there's a lot to think about. Appropriate use, staff training, privacy, and security. All really important.
They are. At the end of the day, technology is a tool.
Right.
It's how we use it that matters. It's our responsibility to use it to make learning better, to help kids grow, and to create a world that's fair and inclusive.
Well said. Now, I want to talk about something that's really important to me, and that's advocacy. We've talked about advocating for children and families, but what does that look like in the world of childcare?
Advocacy means speaking up for the needs of children, families, and even the childcare profession itself.
Right, it's about making a difference.
Exactly. And child daycare workers, they're in a great position to be advocates because they see the issues firsthand.
So how can they get involved? How can they make their voices heard?
It can start locally. Attend school board meetings, connect with your local policymakers, share your experiences, your insights about things that are affecting kids and families in your area.
So being active in your community.
Yes. You can also join professional organizations that are already doing this work, advocating for the profession. They have resources. They can help you stay informed about policies that impact early childhood education.
So it's about joining forces and working together to make a bigger impact.
Exactly.
What are some things that child daycare workers might advocate for?
One big one is affordable, high-quality childcare. Every family should have access to that. We need policies that make childcare more affordable and accessible for everyone.
Absolutely. It's so important for kids, for families, for society as a whole.
It is. Another thing to fight for is fair pay for child daycare workers. This work is incredibly demanding. It's essential. And the people doing it deserve to be paid a living wage.
I couldn't agree more. It's about valuing the work that they do.
Exactly. And we need more funding for early childhood programs, more investment in programs that support children's learning and development.
So it's about educating people about how important those early years are.
Yes. It's time to stop thinking of childcare as just babysitting. It's so much more than that. It's the foundation for everything that comes later.
I love that. We're investing in the future. Okay, I think this has been such a fantastic deep dive. We've covered so much, from practical tips to some really big picture ideas. What are your final words of wisdom for our listener?
Remember this. Choosing to work in childcare, it's more than just a job. It's a calling. You have the chance to really change lives, to shape young minds, to nurture hearts, to make the world a better place.
What an amazing thing to be a part of.
It is. And wherever your journey takes you, never lose that curiosity, that passion, that commitment to making a difference.
Beautifully said. To our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We wish you all the best as you start this exciting journey. We know you're going to do amazing things.